Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Tim Laskus, and this is the Tim Laskus Show, episode 47. How many of you out there have thought about starting your own podcast, but you've got all kinds of excuses, like you don't know how to do it or you don't have the time? Hey, I've eliminated all that. Go to timlaskus.com and pick up your free podcast launch cheat sheet. 7 proven steps to creating, promoting, and profiting from a podcast show. Doesn't get any better than that. It's free. So go to timlaskus.com, pick up your free podcast launch cheat sheet today. Now on to our featured guest, who is Lewtan. Lisa has an incredible story of how she was eating a bunch of crap for most of her life up until she was like 30, 31. She was working too much and she just collapsed. Boom, hit the floor. And so ever since then, she's been on a 20-year journey to figure out her health and how to get back on track. And she's done that. And as a result, she's helping others to do it. So she has a coaching program. She has groups. She has retreats. She's an author. She's a blogger. She has her own podcast. And she's just helping people to turn their lives around just as she has done. And so you want to sit back and enjoy, because you're going to get lots of good information and tips in this one.
The Tim Laskus Show, in search of entrepreneurial gold. Tim digs deep into the minds of his guests, entertaining, down to earth, and informative. Now, here's your host, Tim Laskus.
So thanks for joining me today. I am so excited that you're here. And because I just can't wait to jump right into this whole thing about detoxing yourself off of sugar, we're going to go right there. Tell the listeners a little bit about this Ditch Your Sugar Itch. What is that all about?
It's a 10-day online program where people give up sugar, and depending on their level, they might give up just the white stuff, or they might give up artificial sweeteners and natural sweeteners. And the goal is to just reduce the sugar in their lives, to see how they feel, and to put them in a better place to make better decisions. Because for those of us who crave sugar, it's really hard to say no when sugar's in your system. But when it's out of your system, it becomes really easy to say no. It's not a willpower thing. It really is a chemical addiction.
What's all the research say about sugar and the negative kind of impact on our bodies?
I have like 2 hours.
Oh, is it that much? Really?
There's so much research coming out, just about the inflammation that's leading to heart disease and diabetes and stroke and cancer and everything else. And what's so sad is what's also coming out is all the information about how the sugar industry hid so much information from the public and started blaming it on fat, when fat was never the thing that was bad for us. It was always the sugar. So it's a very, very addictive drug. And most people walk around saying, I don't have willpower, I don't have willpower, but it's not your fault. It's everywhere. And until you get it out of your system, you don't have a chance against it. Willpower will not hold up against it.
So I need your advice. So I got this 2-foot tall chocolate bunny for Easter. I haven't eaten it yet. What should I do with it?
Give it away.
Give it to someone I love or someone I hate. Say, here, eat
that's
sugar.
A good question. I would definitely give it away. I mean, it depends. Can you stop at one bite? I can't.
No, and it's probably, I don't know if it's the one that's hollow inside or if it's like the solid one. If it's a solid, I'm gnawing on that thing for like an hour. It's like a dog eating a bone. It's like,
Not only are you gnawing on it for an hour, but for days on end, you're going, where's that chocolate? I need that chocolate. And it keeps going and going. And then that's even an obvious one, but there's so much sugar in our foods that are not obvious. And those are the sneaky ones that are shocking.
God, the sneaky companies out there trying to get us every time we turn around. I need to join your program, and I bet there's some listeners out there who are ready to jump on there too. So this is called Ditch Your Sugar, but you got this other program. I was checking out your website, and it said Ditch Your Inner Bitch. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
I'm not trying to offend anyone.
Yeah, that program hasn't come out just yet, but I do work with people quite a bit.
I'm not making that up.
No, you're not making that up. But, we all have that inner critic inside of us. And especially entrepreneurs, we're always telling us, oh, I'm not doing well enough. That person over there is doing better. I suck, and that's our inner critic bitch. Some people call them gremlins. I just wrote a blog post about this today, actually. And it's really hard. We're really hard on ourselves. And so that's one of the things that I work with people to help get a handle on that, on how to deal with it when those inner critic bitches or gremlins come a knocking.
Well, it sounds like you're the right person for me. I need to get rid of the sugar and get rid of my inner bitch. I'll tell you.
Happy to help.
Yeah.
You are not alone, Tim.
I bet I'm not. I bet after when you give your information at the end of this podcast, I bet you're going to have a flood of people just coming to you. So you might want to limit the number of clients you take, because there's probably a lot of people out there who are going to be like, what? I need that too. Tell the listeners a couple of tips is for entrepreneurs. We've got entrepreneurs, watchpreneurs, sidepreneurs out there who just, they're kind of on the sidelines. They're at the beginning stages. Do you have any tips for them? Something that's been helpful for you along the way as an entrepreneur?
Well, it's really interesting because I was an entrepreneur starting at age 23, and that was really young. And I had this don't give up mentality, which was a double-edged sword for me. And I think in some ways you have to have a don't give up mentality to be a successful entrepreneur, because you're going to get punched a lot in the face. And if you don't keep getting up, game out, game over. So that's one thing. On the other hand, that not giving up eventually caused me to crash and burn in my first business. So I think you have to balance that with really taking care of yourself in a very profound way, in a very mindful way that I didn't know how to do the first time around. And I do very much so now.
Yeah, it's easy to neglect ourselves, neglect our family, everything when we're so focused on business. But yeah, when it comes to ourselves, I mean, it reminds me of that thing when you're flying and they say, if the cabin depressurizes and the oxygen falls down, put your mask on before you help the person next to you, because you're not going to be any good if you're not breathing and you're not healthy. You can't help anyone else.
Absolutely. But I think most people think, if I do a little exercise and I eat relatively healthy, that's enough. But that's not enough. There's a lot more to it than that. And it's really developing a mindful awareness of what's going on in your body, because when things aren't going well, eventually we're going to get sick or injured. And when we can really start paying attention to what's going on in our body, we can prevent it before it gets to that point.
Absolutely. Now, when did you realize that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Were you in diapers or was it later on?
Well, it's really funny because like many entrepreneurs, I had a parent that was an entrepreneur. And so working for yourself was just a very normal thing. It wasn't this strange phenomenon that I'd never witnessed or heard of. So I kind of just assumed I would. I didn't think that I would do it so early, like literally in my early 20s. It just circumstance kind of led to that. But I don't believe that I could not be an entrepreneur. I just don't think I would function as anything else.
God, yeah. So you kind of grew up as it being the norm. You saw people in your family who were entrepreneurs, and
my husband was the same. And we all had little businesses in college and whatnot. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was also, I worked with him. We started our first business together. So we were both from that mold.
Wow. Well, that's great. And do you have kids?
I do. I have 3 kids.
So do you have like little baby boss? You've seen that movie out, Baby Boss? Like my son's all
I
into
have
that.
3 baby bosses.
One baby
They are
boss is
not
enough.
quite yet.
You
They're
got
just,
3.
embarking on their careers, or one's in college. But I have no doubt in my mind they will all be little bosses.
Well, they got the genetic predisposition between you and your husband, that's for sure. So
Yeah, absolutely.
the next Mark Zuckerberg right there. So,
Never know.
So what for someone who's thinking about taking that step, a lot of times fear holds them back. What would you say to them?
I would say to them, first of all, for me, I use fear as an indicator that it's something I need to do. Like I look for the fear because if something, scares me, I'm like, I'm going to conquer that one. Like it makes me know that I'm also excited about it. So fear and excitement, there's a fine line between those two. But I would say if somebody is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur because they want more free time and less responsibility, I would say that is not good thinking, because as many of us entrepreneurs know, It's longer hours, longer days, lots of weekends, and setting boundaries is super important. And it's hard. It's hard to find that balance.
Hey, but what about that Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week?
Well, power to Tim Ferriss. And I have never met anyone who actually can do the 4-hour work week, but it does sound really divine.
Sounds tempting. Hey, it's a good catchy title. Made him lots of money. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's quite that simple. So
I don't either.
since you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, they must have sat you down and told you, okay, Lisa, this is how you make money and this is how you manage it. Did you get that talk?
I more got the talk like, don't come looking to me for money.
Oh, don't ask me.
Like,
Make your own.
you're on your own. You have to know the value of the dollar and you have to be responsible. And I think that was something I learned at a very young age. And so it made me a very fiscally responsible person.
Gotcha. I like that. Hey, kick you to the streets. You got to strong survive. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, now we have the dig round, which is fairly new to this podcast, but it's 3 questions where I want you to reply and respond quickly. Don't put a lot of thought into it. Don't go into a lot of detail. And I'm going to throw these at you. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. What inspires you daily?
Helping people.
Time's up. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just teasing.
Helping people change their lives.
Okay. Who impresses you as a business leader today?
My husband.
All right. He's going to appreciate that. He'll take you out tonight for that one. And street smarts versus book smarts. Which is more important?
Oh, street smart all the way.
All the way. It's all about the street. Love that. Very cool. So since you've been doing this entrepreneurial thing, there must have been a time when you were just ready to pull your hair out, light your hair on fire, whatever it might be. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about a situation you had where you were just ready to throw your hands up? One of those Calgon take me away moments.
I've had so many of those, truthfully. But I think the time that I really did crash and burn, I mean, I think that was something that not only was really hard to get over when it happened, that was 20 years ago, but when I started my new business, I was really afraid that if I started working too hard and I got back into that workaholic thing, that the same thing was going to happen to me again. And so I think that forced me to, maybe even too much so, to take it slowly in the beginning. But what I realized as I went along on that journey, that I had developed the right tools along the way and that wasn't going to happen again because I knew the warning signs. And when the warning signs would appear, I knew I had to slow down. I knew I had to reassess, and I knew I had to take care of myself. So I would say that was probably the best learning that I got out of that whole situation.
And what were some of the warning signs? Like if they came up again, what are they?
So they're different for everybody, but for me, I start cutting off a lot of things that bring me joy. I stop seeing friends. I stop making plans to go out. I'm like, well, I'm just a little busy with work right now. I start canceling everything. I start getting that palpitation in my chest, like I'm running on a treadmill trying to get my work done. And I lose the joy of the work. And the reason, when you become a health and lifestyle coach, this is about helping people thrive. And when I notice that I'm not thriving, I am not walking my walk. And I am no good to anybody if I am not walking my walk and talking my talk. So when these warnings come up again, I'm like, whoa, I have to stop, look, assess, and make changes.
Another warning sign, if you pick up a candy bar and you find yourself eating a big, I don't know, Snickers bar or something.
Well, it's funny because I really don't anymore turn to
so you
food.
don't even have that urge to turn to food.
I don't. I mean, I think for many years I did distract with food, and many people do with wine or other substances, but I really don't. I might distract with extra vegetables. I like to eat healthy and I don't feel, but I don't use that as a distraction anymore. I'm more likely to distract with Game of Thrones these days.
Oh, yeah, okay. There you go. What about buying kitchen gadgets? Sometimes people get stressed.
No, that's not actually a reaction. That's more just I happen to find one, or people send me, links to them all.
Gotcha.
That's pure fun.
Excellent. Well, speaking of fun, what's been your most fulfilling moment as an entrepreneur?
My most fulfilling moment actually was when my book came out because it gave me the ability to spread my services and knowledge to a much wider audience. And it was so much that I had invested time, thoughts, experiences all in one place. And then when people started emailing me and reviewing on Amazon and telling me the book changed their life, it just filled my cup like nothing else. The best.
Well, I'm glad to hear that somebody had that kind of, I don't know, feedback and response from their book. When I published my book, all I heard was, "This thing's a bunch of crap."
Oh,
No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
sorry. No, I've
No,
been
no, no, it wasn't that
overflowing
bad.
with feedback. People come up to me and they write me, and
That's great.
it
Well, it's got to be fulfilling when you know that people have actually read your material and it's helped them change and make a big change in their life, for the good. And that stays with you forever, more so than any money that you made off of anything.
absolutely. There's no comparison.
For sure. Well, that is awesome. Well, Lisa, you've been a great, great, great guest today, and you've given us some really good information. And before we go there, I want you to share with the listeners where they can find you online and how they can be a part of your programs, because I'm sure people are going to want to sign up for these. Tell them where they can go.
My website is healthyhappyandhip.com. I'll repeat that. All one word, healthyhappyandhip.com. And so that's the best place. And they can sign up to be part of my community and get updates on programs and my blog about all that inner critic bitch stuff that we talked about, as well as sugar and lots of other topics. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter. And if they want to join my Facebook group, just have them send me an email, Lisa at I can't even talk today. Lisa at healthyhappyandhip.com. And I will send them a link to join my Facebook community where I do all sorts of really interesting free challenges and information. And we're a great community there.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great resource. All right, everyone. Be sure to go visit healthyhappyandhip.com with Lisa Lewtan, Lewtan. Thank you, Lisa. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me, Tim. Have a great day.
You too.
Want more entrepreneurial tips? Go to timlascos.com.